ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural episode of the Bottom Six Boys podcast. Thank you guys for coming along to listen. We have a pretty decent show here tonight. We're going to introduce a cast, obviously, of the Bottom Six Boys, who we are, how we grew up, watching hockey, things of that nature. And then, with time, we're going to dive right into the current standings of NHL playoff hockey. So, to start us off, I'll go down the list so you can meet the cast here. We have, obviously, me, the Barzy boy, Donnie. We have good friend Andrew.
What's going on, guys?
Cooney.
What's up?
Jack.
Hi.
Ty.
What's up, everybody?
And Virgil.
Hey.
All right. So now hopefully you recognize their voices. You can you'll hear them later on, and we're just gonna jump right into it. We have a bit of a small little list here, just to help you guys get to know us. So first off, my name is Ryan Dunn. I'm 16, about to be 17 in a month. I'm from Long Island, New York, and I always grew up a hockey fan. I grew up into a pretty big hockey family since birth. My family is we're all Islander fans. I know I'm a diehard Islander fan myself, and growing up, I was always just kind of in the culture of hockey, from watching the games from as little as when I was 1 year old, sitting in front of the TV, watching old moments from the 80s that we used to have on VHS. I had a really cool navy blue jersey when I was younger, from like around 2002, and just growing up, I was always a really big hockey fan, and it kind of developed into today. And since then, I have just been, just invested into hockey. Sure, I've fallen out a couple times here and there, but to say it's a big part of my life is a massive understatement. My first ever hockey memory growing up, I remember the first memory I think I ever had was going to a Pittsburgh Penguins New York Islanders game in Nassau Coliseum. I don't remember exactly what section I sat up in, but my uncle has season tickets. I went with him and my dad, and I remember watching the Islanders lost 4-3, and I remember sitting there, just like maybe like a 3-year-old me, stubborn as all hell. I remember my parents were telling me, like, all right, it's time to go. The Islanders lost. I said, no, they don't. They just need more time. We need to give them more time. They can definitely win. My parents are trying to explain to me, no, the game's over. They can't play anymore. We got to go home. So eventually they had to entice me by getting me some food to leave. So that was my first ever hockey memory. My favorite game that I've ever been to was the recent 2019 NHL playoffs, Game 1 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. The officiating was the worst officiating I've ever seen in a hockey game. But, I mean, to say that it was still so much fun is a massive understatement. Sitting all the way back up in the top row at section 228, being right up against the roof, or being our backs against the wall, the roof right above our heads next to a bunch of rowdy Islander fans. It's one of the greatest feelings in the world, to say the least. And being able to watch them win it in overtime was amazing. Besides that, another great hockey game going to was the 2015 playoffs against the Washington Capitals in Game 6, what was supposed to be the last game at Nassau Coliseum, in quotes. Turned to be a great win for the Islanders, 3-1. I remember still back against the wall, couldn't even see the scoreboard, just seeing nothing but the ice was just an incredible memory I can never forget. Being surprised with the tickets and going. It was just such a fun night. And it was something that really resonated with me and it stuck with me to today. Currently, my favorite player is Matthew Barzal of the New York Islanders, though I have a soft spot for a lot of other players around the league. I like Marc-Andre Fleury. Probably one of my favorite players that is no longer playing would be Peter Forsberg. Definitely a favorite of mine, great player. Michael Pekka. I always had a love for Kyle Oposo, even when he sadly left the team to go to Buffalo. And I always did like Sean Bates growing up too, because my favorite hockey memory of all time is the Sean Bates penalty shot goal in 2002, in which the Islanders won the game 6 at Nassau 4-3 after a penalty shot goal for obviously Sean Bates against Cujo, in which Brian McCabe tripped him on the way to the net. And to say that the roof blew off Nassau Coliseum was an understatement. And just watching that clip over and over again now, it sends chills down my spine. And it's just something so fun to look back on. And it shows how passionate fan base can be. Currently, I'm collecting jerseys as of now. I want to collect a jersey from every single team, but the jerseys I have now are an Islanders third jersey of Matthew Barzal. Kyle Oposo jersey I've had since I was about 12. I have two 2002 jerseys, a orange Islander jersey, a white away Islander jersey. I have a Tavares signed jersey that's somewhere in my closet. I have a Franz Nielsen jersey somewhere, and I want to start expanding though, and I definitely want to start buying jerseys from other teams because, you know, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me as a hockey fan just to, only have my team's jerseys. I kind of want to expand, show how big my passion is for the sport, and get other players involved because obviously, I have to, in some way, I like a player on every team. So that's just a bit of getting to know about me and just kind of how I got into hockey. Outside of hockey, I play video games. Pretty big Xbox guy. Let's see, I am a pretty big pro wrestling fan, so you might hear me reference wrestling shows here and there every now and again. Favorite wrestlers are Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor. And I'm also a bit of a closet Mets fan. So that's just to get to a little bit to get to know. Get to know about me. Let's move on to our good friend Andrew. Andrew, go right ahead, man.
All right, thank you. So, as you guys know, my name's Andrew. I'm from Long Island as well. I moved down here to Virginia when I was I think I was turning 5 years old. I basically getting into the story. I just got into hockey when I was pretty young as well. My dad would always be watching the Islander games on TV, and I'd just be looking at the screen, realizing, wow, this is like really cool. Just all the back and forth, high paced action going on. It was just really great to watch. So I just got into it, asking him all these questions every time, and it's just so funny because when I was little, I'd ask him all these questions during the game, and he's always be like, "Andrew, stop talking." He still does it to this day, and it's still funny. My first hockey memory was probably I went to a Hershey Bears game in 2010, I believe it was, and it was great. The Hershey Bears won 4-3 that game. It was great. My dad knows a guy that works with Hershey Bears, and we got to go into I guess it's called the VIP. It's like the VIP area where we got all like this cool food and stuff. And I was already talking to my dad about like, oh, this game was great, Dad. Thanks for taking me. Other than that, my favorite game that I've been to, um, it was March 22nd, 2018. It was the Islanders 7-6 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Even though it was a loss, it was probably one of the best games I've ever seen. The high paced back and forth action. The Islanders were down 5-1. Or no, it was 6-1 going into the third period. Islanders rallied back and scored 5 unanswered goals. And then Tampa just got the last one. The Islanders rung one off the post with like 3 seconds left in the third. It was such a great game. It was incredible, honestly. Another one of the games I really liked. I went to home and home Boston and Buffalo. It was in December 29th, December 31st. I went to go see the games. Boston won both those games, and it was just both arenas have great energy. It was again very high pace games. So those are really good. Current favorite players probably again Matt Barzell. I have my own jersey of him. Players around the league. I personally like the new rookie Elias Peterson. Pass wise, obviously it was Tavares originally until he left. So, but I loved Calvin DeHaan. He was a great defenseman we had. So some good players here. Some of my favorite other teams in the Islanders. I personally like Winnipeg. I love Shifley, Bufflin, Hellebuck is a goalie. He's insane, and he's the Winnipeg Jets. Even though they were knocked out first round this year, they've been doing great as usual. But my favorite hockey moment probably it would be when I got onto the Islanders Instagram from Matt Martin tossing me to a puck. It happened 2 times. So Matt Martin tossed me a puck. It was at an Islander Cap game I went to just recently this year, and then about 3 years ago it was at the final game at the Coliseum. My dad took me to. He tossed me a puck as well. So it was really great. And finally, one of the jerseys I've collected. I have my normal home Matt Barzell jersey. I have a Team Canada Tavares jersey, a 2015 black Tavares third jersey, and a signed Tavares home jersey. Other jerseys I have, it's mainly just stuff I had as a baby. I have a St. Louis Blues ones and a Winnipeg Jets one. So other than that, it's really good. We'll just pass it on to Cooney.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Ryan. I go by Cooney because we already have Ryan in here, and Cooney was just a nickname all through my life. So I'm 18 years old from Long Island, New York. Moved up to Albany for college for now, and I first got into hockey was my dad. He always used to watch the Islanders play, and I went with him to our local bank one day when I was about 4 years old. Met Rick DiPietro there, which was the Islanders goalie from basically my whole childhood until he retired. And that solidified my Islanders fandom because not only did I love starting to watch that game, but to meet a player and where like the place that you live is something else. I think that can only happen on Long Island. I feel like that's not going to happen anywhere. You can go to anywhere like Boston, you're not going to see a player if in your local suburbs, but on Long Island that can happen. And after that, not only did I love to watch it, but I love to play as well. And I've been playing since I was 8 years old. Skated when I was 4 or 5. First hockey memory is probably Rick DiPietro's shutout after meeting him. I forgot what team it was against, but I remember him not letting up any goals. I was like, wow, this guy's really good. And didn't turn out that way for his career, but you know, you can blame that on injury. And then favorite game I've ever been to was probably the overtime winner against Buffalo because I haven't been to that many games. I've never been to a playoff game, which I'm hoping can change this year because if we do run deep, that would be great. My favorite player right now is Matthew Barzal, just because he's electric. My favorite former player is John Tavares when he was on the team. And my favorite player off the Islanders is Erik Karlsson, ever since he joined the league, because he was just an insanely good defenseman. He still is. He just set the franchise record for the Sharks for most assists in a playoff series at 9. And my favorite other teams are the Jets, the Bruins, and the Sharks. All three of those teams I've been rooting for a while now. Jets finally started to pick it up, but they lost the first round. Bruins just beat the Maple Leafs. Glad about that. And Sharks just won an ecstatic Game 7. Favorite hockey moment is probably Tavares' overtime winner against the Florida Panthers when that was the first playoff series that I've seen my team won, and I wish I could have been there for the game, but I wasn't. And that just yelling with my dad in my living room at the screen was probably the best moment of my hockey fandom. I've got around 8 Islanders jerseys, 2 Bruins jerseys, and 1 Jets jersey. Right now, I've got a Bergeron and a Marchand jersey. I've got about 6 Tavares jerseys, a Cizikas, a Pulak, a Anders Lee, and a Patrick Laine jersey for the Jets. And yeah, so that's basically all about me. Let's move on to Jack.
Hey, what's up? My name's Jack. I'm from Long Island. I got into hockey because that was really the only thing that me and my family used to go to when I was young. And I also got into the video game, which helped a little bit. But still, it was one of my favorite games growing up to watch. And eventually I started playing it, and eventually I started watching it. And I got into the New York Islanders a little bit. And that's the team I still am with. My first hockey memory, earliest one I can remember, was when I was young. I went to a game where the Islanders faced the Devils. I forgot the final score of that game because it was a very long time ago. But still, that was my earliest memory. The favorite game I've ever been to must have been, I'm going to say, the game that Franz Nielsen scored his first ever hat trick against the Dallas Stars. I'm going to say that one, but I'm also going to tie that up with kind of like Pozo scoring a hat trick against the Pittsburgh Penguins because my brother's a Penguins fan, and it's always good to stick it to him. My favorite player currently is Robin Lehner and Matt Barzal. Those are my 2 favorite players. I also have a couple other ones from around the league, such as Marc-Andre Fleury, Jonathan Marchessault, Joe Thornton. I like it's kind of awkward because they played each other. Charlie McAvoy is another one. Some of my favorite teams other than the Islanders are Vegas and I guess Buffalo. The jerseys I've collected so far, I have Matt Barzell jersey, Kyle Okposo jersey, a Jack Eichel jersey, and a Bobby Orr jersey. The Okposo jersey was from the Islanders, and it was the Brooklyn Black jersey. The rest of them are all just the regular home jerseys that they wore when they played. That's about it for my hockey experience. Like Donnie, I also like wrestling as well. I also play a lot of video games. That's it for me. We'll move on to Ty now.
All right. Hey, everybody. What's up? My name is Ty. Getting into hockey, my dad was a huge New York Ranger fan, and he always used to show me games back when I was a kid. First hockey memory was probably back in 2006. I remember watching a Ranger game with my dad. It was against the Canadiens. I don't remember much about it, but that's as far back as my memory goes. I am, of course, an Islanders fan. He took me to a game probably about 10 years ago already. That was my first ever hockey game, and that's how I personally became an Islander fan. Favorite game I've ever been to? Probably about last week against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Excuse me. It was my first ever playoff game. It was absolutely insane. The Coliseum was about to explode. One of the greatest games I've ever been to. My favorite player as of now is probably Anders Lee. I believe he was the leading goal scorer for the team this year. He was an absolute god. Probably in the past, I think my favorite player was either Michael Grabner or Kyle Okposo. Favorite teams other than the Islanders? I'm a huge Winnipeg Jet fan. I like Blake Wheeler a lot, Mark Scheifele. They're all great players. I like them a lot. I'm also a Colorado Avalanche fan. Nathan MacKinnon, probably one of my favorite players in the NHL. One of my favorite hockey moments, probably Josh Bailey's overtime goal from last Wednesday. Absolutely a beautiful goal. Probably the loudest I've ever seen Nassau Coliseum in my entire life. Jerseys I've collected, I kind of started like pretty recently. I have a Vegas Golden Knights jersey, an Islanders away jersey from 2009. The alternates that they have right now, and I also have a Yager jersey. So, well, it's a child size, so I can't wear it anymore. But yeah, that's all the jerseys I have, and now I'm going to turn it over to Virgil. So, Virg, what do you got?
So, hi, obviously, I'm Virgil. I was born in New York, and I moved to Florida when I was around 8-ish, so I went to a few Coliseum games, but never anything that I can really remember. I got into hockey based off my uncle and my dad's love for hockey. I grew up in the sport. My dad plays on a rec team for up in Orlando, and my favorite hockey memory was probably when my dad got the opportunity to play at Amalie Arena. He got to play with a few former Lightning, and I got to wear the 2004 Stanley Cup ring. It was probably what cemented my love of hockey over other sports that I grew up with, like baseball and soccer. So the favorite game I've ever been to growing up in Tampa, it's the Lightning game against the Isles at Amalie. We won like 5-2, and the most vivid memory of my hockey life is probably my uncle screaming at the top of his lungs, "Get off our lawn" at the Lightning game with everyone booing him, and we just got to walk off super proudly knowing that our team just dominated the game. So my favorite players are current and all time. Gretzky is my favorite all time. My dad is a huge Gretzky fanboy, so I've always grown up respecting him and loving how he dominated the game when he was there. Currently, probably Matt Martin, the heart and soul of the Islanders, in my opinion. Barzy, the way he lights up the ice is just amazing. And Fleury, I've always respected him, and it's a shame that they lost yesterday, but he can only do so much. Some of my favorite teams besides the Owls are, oddly enough, the Sharks, the Coyotes, and the Knights. So the Knights-Sharks game kind of like ripped me apart low-key, but it's okay. My favorite hockey moment was the All-Star game against Tampa with my dad. Sadly, the last time I got to see JT as an Isle and the Metro lost. But it was really funny seeing Lightning fans cheer Marchand and then boo him and cheer him and boo him. And I got to see Point, which was really cool too. Jerseys I've collected. I only collected one or two. I have the 2018-2019 Isles third jersey, and I have a little one. I believe it's the alternative from 2015 that I gave to my little sister, and hopefully that started her on the path of hockey. Any other interests besides hockey are probably baseball and video games, and that's basically me. So back to Donnie.
Thank you very much, boys. So now that you all know the cast, we can jump right into what this podcast is truly all about, and that's hockey. So recently, we have some big news coming out of the Stanley Cup playoffs, of 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs. As of today, April 24th, 2019, the members or the teams that will be moving on to the second round are the Boston Bruins, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the New York Islanders, the St. Louis Blues, the Dallas Stars, the San Jose Sharks, and the Colorado Avalanche. Just last night, the Toronto Maple Leafs fell to the Boston Bruins 5-1 in Game 7. We all know what happened. They had the biggest choke possibly in NHL history. Well, maybe not in NHL history, but in recent memory, and lost to the Blues in a 4-game sweep. Tonight, the Capitals and Hurricanes look to finish things off in Washington, and the Carolina is hoping to move back onto the second round for the first time since 2006, their last playoff run in which they won the Stanley Cup with Rob Brind'Amour, Jordan Stahl, or not Jordan Stahl, my apologies. Rob Brind'Amour, so they won it with Justin Williams, Cam Ward. Islanders moving on. And what many think is a bit of a shocker, but I mean, to most, I wouldn't say it was. The Islanders just had the faster team. Anybody not outside of Toronto was banking on the Bruins. Salute for a few people. Avalanche showing up when it mattered most and taking out the Calgary Flames. And then, as we said last night, the Sharks in one of the best hockey games probably in recent memory, beating the Vegas Golden Knights in a huge third period and overtime battle. The Sharks were able to rally back from a 3-goal deficit. Was it a 3-goal deficit? 4-goal deficit?
3-goal deficit with 10
goals.
minutes left.
3-goal deficit with 4 minutes left, and
10.
were able to. I'm sorry, 10 minutes left. My apologies. And of course, if you didn't see the replay, what happened was that Captain Joe Pavelski off the faceoff took a cross check from Cody Eakin, leading him to stumble backwards into Paul Stastny, which led to Paul Stastny pushing Joe Pavelski down onto the ice in a pretty dangerous-looking hit, which resulted in blood coming out from the top of Joe Pavelski's head. He was bleeding a lot, and it was a bit of a scary, scary injury. It led to what some believe is controversial, though to me personally, I believe it wasn't, a 5-minute major to Cody Eakin, which led the team to rally back and tie the game, and then eventually take the lead over the Vegas Golden Knights. And then with just a minute left, the Vegas Golden Knights would pull their goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury and score, leading to a tie game, which would bring it to an insane overtime that nearly went into double OT. But a huge goal by, I believe it was, trying to remember his name. Good,
Goudreau.
Goudreau, was that it?
That's his name.
Barclay Goudreau. Barclay Goudreau. Coming in from the right, Goudreau. Coming in from the right side off a pass from Erik Karlsson, who would pull off a pretty sick move and lead and put the puck in the back of the net. Fleury tried to make a huge diving save, but just couldn't quite get there. And to say San Jose was popping was an understatement. So, gentlemen, now that all that news is out of the way, we come down to who is left. So, I guess first things first, we can go around here. Who do you think moves on to the second round between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals? I guess I'll start off here. I believe that the Hurricanes upset. I believe they're going to be able to win in Game 7 and move on to the next round. I think they have the momentum going into tonight's game, especially since the Capitals are getting a little bit frustrated and the team is really starting to rally together, come together, and Rob Brind'Amour is bringing the boys together in order to, obviously find a way, put a dent into Washington's armor. And just me personally, I think the Hurricanes are going to take tonight. Everybody else's thoughts. Andrew, who do you believe will be taking tonight's game?
I think Carolina could also take the game as well tonight. As you said, Donnie, the Caps are getting frustrated with the injury, obviously, from Oshie. Ovi getting ejected last game for the slash. The team is slowly starting to crumble. Personally, I think Carolina can win it tonight in Game 7 for their first playoff win, I believe, since 2006, I think it was. Carolina
First series.
has in my opinion, Carolina has been the faster team, especially I think it was game 5 or it was game 4 when they won 5-0. That definitely showed off a lot of skill from them. It was very it was really good. I think Carolina can take it off tonight, leading by Sebastian Aho and the team. I think the final score is going to be a 4-2 Carolina game.
All right, it's pretty good. A little bit of a score there. Cooney, what are your thoughts on tonight's Game 7?
I'm gonna go with the Capitals winning. I feel the Capitals can win just because. I mean, yeah, they don't have Oshie, but I feel that's gonna push them more further to try and win. Because there's been hashtags going around through all Capitals fans, even through the Capitals Twitter themselves, win for Oshie, and they want to win just because they lost. Like I say, Oshie's top 3 on that team in offense, and if the Capitals defense can maintain what they maintained during the shutout wins that they had earlier in the series, then they could definitely take the cake. But it's been every game has been very lopsided through both these games. This is why they're going to a Game 7. I could see a potential overtime happen tonight, 100%. I guess we'll move on to Jack's predictions.
All right, so we're gonna kill my bracket even more. We're gonna go with the Carolina Hurricanes winning in 7 games. My bracket's already dead in every single form. It's been stabbed 27 times, I'm pretty sure. I got 3 teams moving on that are good that I predicted.
Jack, you and 90% of everyone else's brackets are completely gone from those.
Yeah, no. I'm just
Oh, not
very
even
angry
that.
about it because I almost put money down. Actually, no, I think I did put money down on one of them. So,
Not
yeah,
even
that's-
90%. Everybody's is like
yeah,
completely.
everybody's is, so
took a
thanks. Yeah,
shot.
yeah. But I put money down on mine, so mine's even worse. Thanks, Columbus. But so you know what? Whatever. I'm gonna lose money anyways. Screw it. Carolina goes ahead. But if we're gonna look at the series like statistically, I feel that the Capitals are more equipped to win because none of these teams have won away. So that's kind of why I kind of do still have like a spot for the Capitals. But I'm rooting for Carolina. I want Carolina to win. I think they could pull it off. As long as they can keep the Caps fans at bay, score early, score quick, score a lot. And I don't. No matter how passionate the crowd is in Washington, I feel that the Hurricanes got a big lead going into the 3rd period. No matter what those fans do, they cannot rally the Capitals back into the game if the Hurricanes score quick, score early, and score a lot. And try to keep the Capitals at the lowest amount of goals as possible.
I definitely have to agree with you on the fact that I believe whoever scores the first goal will definitely turn the tide of a game and definitely kind of like.
I feel like they'll run the game, but I don't feel like they'll definitely win because of the Hurricanes. Because like the way that the series is played out, if you don't score often, you are going to lose.
I'd say
that's how
whoever
I kind of
scores
feel.
first definitely has the most momentum, and I think will definitely take the game. Just me personally.
Yeah, but the thing I'm saying is like they definitely want another blowout here, because if they score often, like they did in the game in Game 3 against the Capitals, where they won 5-0, admittedly they had the crowd on their side for that one because they were the home team, or like how the Capitals did in Game 5. I feel like it'll be harder because, again, they're the away team. The crowd's not going to be on their side, and they're not going to have as much momentum, I guess, when scoring. But it will definitely kill the crowd for the Capitals. And as an Islander fan, you can see how much the crowd does play into some games as well. So I'm sure it'll have some type of effect if Carolina takes the crowd out. and scores a lot often. But I'm gonna root for Carolina, and I hope they win because I hate my bracket. Anyways, we're gonna be moving on to Ty. What are your predictions on this?
This is probably the series that I've watched personally the least. I do see a recurring theme in this where the home team is always winning, so if I'm not mistaken on that at least, but I do think that keeping up that trend, I think the Capitals are probably going to win. They have the fans of DC on their side. Ovi is probably probably going to come up clutch again. I'm excited to see what happens in this game, but I can't make any guarantees. I do wholeheartedly think that the Capitals are going to win, though. So now on to Virgil.
Yeah, so I basically agree with Ty 100% based off just the simple fact that Alexander Ovechkin in the playoffs, he's dangerous and he's going to do it for Oshie. And I need this for my bracket. So Caps in 7. Back to Dunny.
I just
Actually,
want to say, Virgil, if my bracket's going down, so is yours.
Oh, I know.
So yes, there are our predictions for tonight's game. Hopefully, I know me personally, I want to see a Carolina victory. So hopefully Carolina pulls it out. But of course, also on the flip side, hopefully the Washington Capitals also pull it out. So we also have last night's thought. What were your night's thoughts on the Toronto Maple Leafs losing to the Boston Bruins? Andrew, go ahead.
all right. So personally, as I'm pretty sure everyone out there probably knows about the Tavares situation, we won't really talk about that too much. But I actually had the Boston Bruins in 7 games. Personally, really glad. Obviously, they won. It just proved to Tavares and all the fans behind him that Tavares left for a reason. Wasn't the best way handled, but we proved to Tavares that this team doesn't really need him, that they could work without him, and we were still proving everyone wrong. Boston just very heavily dominated the game. They were getting a lot of offensive turnovers. Toronto was just giving up the puck. Toronto was giving him up too many penalties, which just kept leading to chances and opportunities as of the Boston Bruins going up 2-0 into the 5-1 win before the first period ended. And just throughout the series, as you could see, Boston scored so many power play goals. I believe they scored like 2 power play goals in Game 6 in Toronto in their 4-2 one, I believe it was. So overall, in the whole series, at some points it did go back and forth, but overall, Boston did have the more aggressive, fast-paced team, and that's why Toronto may just have to rebound, make some moves on the offseason, and try again next year. So I guess we'll just move it right to Cooney.
Yeah, I feel that Toronto had the biggest chance they've had against the Bruins this year, but they just didn't pull the trigger fast enough. You know, I feel like Kadri is one in part to blame for the series loss. Kadri and Babcock are probably my 2 biggest people to throw under the bus. I would say Gardner, but it's not Gardner's fault. Anderson let off you can't blame Anderson for anything in that series except for the 2 soft goals in Game 7, but that's bound to happen after you're just leaving your goalie out to dry for 3 out of 6 of those previous games. Kadri getting that suspension on that stupid play done for the rest of the series, which ultimately led to the rest of the playoffs being done for. Kadri was even the one that sparked the comeback, and right after Boston scored, and of course he takes that penalty a couple minutes after he scores, and every chance of a comeback is just gone for that. So yeah, but Game 7 was very good. It was just a well-fought series altogether. I had Boston in my bracket winning in 6, though. So my bracket's kind of happy, not entirely happy. That's one of my 3 correct picks out of all the series, which is not great. So yeah, we'll move on to Jack on this.
I'm going to get a little bit choked up on this, but can we play the U.S. National Anthem real quick? Okay. So, the Boston Bruins, they did it. They did it for the entire country of America and for the entire country of Canada. We've eliminated the Toronto Maple Leafs. The fans of the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'm not going to say anything about the passionate ones, but there are some fake ones that have been very annoying to other fans. including the Islanders fan base. And I have seen fans rally out of every single fan base going up against the Toronto Maple Leafs, wanting them to lose, and Boston just proved that they are the most patriotic team of the NHL, representing every single team, eliminating the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I just gotta say, this is the most heartwarming moment you can ever have as a true patriot of the NHL, a true fan of the NHL. And all I gotta say to that is thank you, Boston. Thank you for serving your hockey organization well. And from every fan base, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you.
Thank you, Jack, for that very patriotic speech.
You're
and
welcome.
Also for kind of insulting all of Canada outside of
I was
Toronto.
not I was not insulting Canada. I was representing every single one of their fan bases, but whatever.
Oh, all right.
All 30 other fan bases just
All 30 other fan bases.
All
thank you,
30
Boston.
others.
they're just clapping for you right now, Jack.
Oh, yes.
They salute you.
Ty, would you like to go ahead and give your thoughts on the series between Boston and the Leafs?
This is probably Toronto's last chance because Marner may walk in free agency. This is, of course, karma for the whole Tavares signing, and I feel absolutely fantastic right now. The Leafs themselves, I think this is partially on Mike Babcock, but I don't think they're going to fire him. He's just too good of a coach, and I don't think there's any other coaches on the market right now that are going to be able to move ahead of what Babcock has done in Toronto since his hiring. As for Boston, they'll be playing Columbus in the next round, and I believe that the Blue Jackets have a very good chance of winning that series either way. It might be very, very even, but I think Columbus is probably going to beat Boston. All right, anyway, now on to Virgil.
So, me personally, I was afraid of the Leafs going into the whole playoffs, and especially Game 7. I thought they had a better chance of winning than most other people did. And I kind of feel bad for the Leafs in some sense because of the whole playoff, how they're structured, the playoff brackets and how they're structured on the Leafs playing Boston every single year. So they kind of got screwed in that aspect. But I understand the hate where people would hate on the Leafs. But at the same time, Boston's kind of in the iffy space too. So it was a good game. It was really... I know the score was a little lopsided, but honestly, before Boston scored the fourth goal, I think, it was still close. 2 goals in hockey, it can always be overcome, except when time is up, obviously. But overall, I thought it was a really good series and a good game. And both teams fought hard, and it's a shame that one of them had to go home because they're both really good. Well, were cup contenders, at least. So that's my word on it.
I think something that definitely played a big factor into the series was home ice advantage. Now, I mean, I'm 99.9% sure every NHL fan believes that home ice advantage really is an advantage. And to me personally, I've seen it work wonders on teams when a crowd is rallying behind them because it kind of boosts them. And I think definitely that was something that was a factor going into the series was just the home ice advantage for the Boston Bruins. And on top of that, as passionate as Leaf fans are, watching the games, I just didn't feel the energy that I felt like they needed, especially in Game 6 on Easter Sunday, because I remember I watched that live. When Boston won that one, I'm looking up the score right now. I've completely forgot the score for that game. I believe it was another high score for Boston. 4-1. So it was a 4-1, I'm sorry, not 4-1, 4-2. 4-2 for the Bruins. I didn't feel like the crowd was really as energized enough to help will their team forward. I know that I see videos of Toronto fans lining up in the streets, and I think that's a really, really cool thing, and I'm glad that, the fans are coming together to watch. Obviously, if you watch far down, you know that Luka and I believe Eric was his name, they go down there, and they, pretend to be refs there and have a good time, and then occasionally Jesse goes down to be the coach for the opposing team. But I just didn't think the fans were as behind Toronto as they needed to be in the crucial moments. And I think that ragging on Jake Gardner for all the faults of the team is also very disrespectful. I mean, I know that Jake Gardner gave up some, some pretty weak plays, but that happens with any player. That happens with any team. Even the greatest players have some bad moments, and I just think that personally, the biggest issue I'd say was the coaching strategy of Mike Babcock and not really adjusting when it was obviously needed. I think the team could definitely take this as a learning, something to learn from. Next year, I don't believe they're signing Mitch Marner. I do not believe at all that the Leafs will sign Mitch Marner, especially with the cap space that they have and the amount of money that they need to pay him, because Marner's going to want big bucks. Because Marner was probably, besides obviously Austin Matthews, besides John Tavares, Matthews was probably Marner was probably the best player on the team this entire year, even during the playoffs. So I believe Marner also leaves, and this could be a bit of a turning point for the Toronto Maple Leafs. This offseason could really be kind of a do or die thing, where they can quickly find a way to adjust. Maybe see William Nylander did not play well, especially for the money he was getting this year. Another pretty big factor. Honestly, if I were the Leafs, as crazy as it sounds, I know that everybody might not agree. Maybe trading Nylander during, I'd say, during the draft, during the obviously the entry draft, trying to move him out before the start of the next season to maybe get some better defense, because Jake Muzzin isn't going to cut it. Getting some better defense and clearing up some cap space may be the best move for Toronto. And then I'm not saying you should fire Mike Babcock immediately, but maybe start searching a bit for another coach, because Mike Babcock is not a bad coach. I'd say it was just because adjustments weren't made at the right times that kind of caused the issue. So those are just my thoughts on the playoffs. I had Boston in 6 personally going into the series just due to recent history. And I'd say next year, if we see Boston versus the Leafs again in the playoffs, I'm again going to pick Boston. And hopefully things can turn around for Toronto. As an Islander fan, I want them to crash and burn, but from an unbiased standpoint and a realistic standpoint, I want to see this team find a way to turn itself around and get to where it needs to be. Because Leaf fans have been waiting since '67. The magic number of 1967 that haunts Leaf fans in their dreams at night. So that's personally just my thoughts on the of the playoff series between the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And for round 2, I think I'd have the Columbus Blue Jackets winning in about 7 or 6, because Boston's been a bit, although they're coming off of 2 big wins, they might be a bit streaky, and they may underestimate the Columbus Blue Jackets, especially since they swept the first place team. So those are just my thoughts on the Toronto Maple Leaf and Boston Bruins series of 2019. Who knows how many more series you're going to get between those 2 teams. I'm now going to pass this off to Andrew, who has a bit of a fun fact for us. Andrew, go right ahead, sir.
So actually, going back to the home ice advantage thing, and in retrospect, home ice usually is the bigger thing, and it really helps a lot. But going back to the Winnipeg St. Louis series, the first 5 games of that 6-game series, the away team actually won it. So the first 2 games, St. Louis took it. The next 2, Winnipeg. Then the next one, St. Louis, and then St. Louis won it again at home, which was a really cool back and forth battle. But another interesting fact is actually, if the Washington Capitals lose tonight, this will be the first time in NHL history that all first seed teams in each division lose first round. So those are just a few quick facts I just wanted to put on everyone, and I guess I'll just bring it back to Dunny.
Some pretty good facts there. That could be definitely game-changing. And this is why that's kind of something to me that makes me love the NHL playoffs so much. Is the fact that it's so unpredictable. It is far from anything you'll get in any other sport. Because in what other sport are you going to see the President's Trophy winners get swept by a second wild card team? I have never seen that in football. I have never seen that in basketball, baseball, you name it. Usually, if you're the best team going in, you're going to be the best team going out. Look at the Patriots. Just the NHL playoffs is just amazing to me, and especially with games like the Sharks versus the Knights, that is something that kind of encapsulates how good hockey really is, and how I believe overlooked it kind of is, and just like underrated. The NHL playoffs to me is incredibly underrated. Jumping over to the Predators versus the Dallas Stars in a series in which, of course, the odds were going towards Nashville. They blew it, to say the least, because Pekka Rinne was just too good right now and had to carry a pretty sorry team on his back. The defense looked great on paper, but did not translate. The offense just couldn't get going when they needed to. And somehow, the Dallas Stars were able to pull it out, despite being what the despite, Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin being called horse crap by their general manager. Maybe that was a wake-up call. Who knows? But to say I'm by Nashville losing is kind of an understatement. I am shocked that Nashville lost. I had Nashville winning in 6, and to see them get outed this early with the talent that they have is shocking to me. Completely shocking. How with the team? I don't mean to rant here, but how when you have stars like Pekka Rinne, PK Subban, Ryan Johansson, I'm sorry, let me keep going on here. Ryan Ellis, who I'm not saying is an all-star by any means, but is still a really good defenseman. How with a team like that, how do you just fall that early in the playoffs when your cup expectations are set to high? Sorry, I missed a few players here. Roman Josi, probably the best defenseman possibly in the NHL. I personally like him. You had Mikael Granlund, Kyle Turris, Philip Forsberg. Just with a team like that, how do you not at least go conference finals? It is mind-boggling. And to say I feel terrible for Nashville and Pekka Rinne, mostly Pekka Rinne, is just, it's an understatement. I am just lost on how you just failed that early. I mean, you could say the same for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, too. How the hell, with a team like that, coming off of winning the President's Trophy, how do you not go all the way? How do you not see Nashville against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup Finals? I am just completely shocked. And good on Dallas for, showing just how, even Columbus, how the best teams can fall during the playoffs and the regular season is never what truly matters. That was just my small rant. That was my very small rant on the team. Let's pass it off to Andrew, who could probably give it a calmer thinking on the Nashville-Dallas series.
Personally, again, myself, I actually had Nashville winning in 5. But overall, when you really just look at the series, Dallas was the better team. Ben Bishop played like an absolute brick wall 4 out of the 5 games. He played insane. I think he only had it was a little above a 2-goal average a game for that series. Defense was backing him up with blocking an incredible amount of shots in the series. Their penalty kill was insane. And Dallas has just gotten so many really good opportunities this series to where they are going to be advancing and playing the St. Louis Blues. Personally, second round, though, I do think St. Louis will take it over Dallas in about 6 games because when you look at it, Bennington, obviously, he's 25 years old. He's, at NHL standards, he's a rookie, obviously, since it's his first year. But the kid's been playing insane. He's put up exponential numbers this season. He's brought the Blues from last in the division, or last in the league, I should say, excuse me. It was like January 15th, I believe, to 3rd place in their division, only separating them from first by 2 or 3 points, which is insane when you think about it. You look at it again, St. Louis probably has the upper hand on offense, but me personally, I think Dallas does have defense on St. Louis Blues, and then the Blues will probably have goaltending against them with their 2 great goaltenders. But yeah, second round, I do see St. Louis winning it in 6, even though Dallas has had a great story so far, especially keeping that wild card spot after not doing too hot until after the All-Star break. But other than that, it's going to be a really good second round. So now, actually, I'm going to pass it on to Verge.
Okay, so the Dallas Preds game series. So I have friends and family up in Nashville, so I was pulling hard for Nashville to win, and I had them in 5, I believe. I knew Ben Bishop was playing really good. I didn't really see he was playing that good. It was very, very, very impressive. The fact that, like Dunny said, Pellegrini is too good right now. It's just incredible that someone can play a team that can be that good, just like the Tampa scenario, and not produce nothing but second round and first round exits, except for, of course, the final exit a few years back. But it's just falling apart in Nashville. It's been a decline for the past few years, and honestly, I wish I could say I was shocked, but it's hard to say I am because it's a slippery slope, and they've taken a full dive down, and it's going to be extremely hard to recover. So yeah, that's basically my take on it, short and sweet. So yeah.
Going off of what Dunny said earlier, though, this is probably a huge upset. But the amount of talent that Nashville had and their outstanding regular season, it's kind of unacceptable in a way that this even happened. I mean, the Stars, they had one of the lowest goal against averages in the entire league. I cannot believe that Nashville has already choked. I thought that they would at least make it to the second round, and I had them as a shoo-in to win the Western Conference. The fact that they're out in the first round it boggles my mind. Thankfully for them, they're not getting as much hate around the league because of the whole Tampa situation, and everybody's using them as a bit of a blooper reel. But it still doesn't hide the fact that Nashville is just this is an unacceptable performance. If I'm a Nashville fan, I would be extremely disappointed with Peter Laviolette and the rest of the Nashville Predators roster.
Really quickly, does anybody want to make any predictions? The next banner the Nashville Predators are going to hang up. I think the next banner they're going to hang up is the "didn't get swept in the playoffs" 2019.
We're not Tampa banner. That's what they're going to hang up.
We're not Tampa Bay. Too
They're-
good right now.
we clinched first spot by a point.
Yay! Central Division champions again.
Barely.
Or better yet, just do what Urinating Tree said and just hang Pekarine's poor, just beaten down body from the rafters, because at this point, he's the only thing that's really going on this team. Poor Rena. Rena deserves better.
So now we're going to hand it off to Cooney.
All right, so the Dallas Nashville series, that was the one that I've watched the least games out of all five I believe, or six that were played. And all I can say about that is it was a goalie tandem. Bishop versus Rene, two stellar goalies, and I wouldn't say Rene got outplayed. I would say Dallas played better than Nashville's forwards and defense, and Rene's got left out to dry. He had a stellar series, but he had no one to convert in front of him, and that's basically it. So I'm gonna pass it off to Andrew because I didn't watch a ton of this series.
So, like I said again before, Dallas. Now the St. Louis Blues in the second round. Again, said before, I personally think Dallas or St. Louis will beat them second round in 6 games. Just with Binnington, the 25-year-old rookie, he's just been playing exponential, bringing them from last in the league to third in their division, only behind first the Nashville Predators by 2 points, which is really insane when you think about it. But honestly, St. Louis just has the offense and the goaltending on them. But Dallas does have the defense on them, in my personal opinion. So Dallas won't go down without a fight.
So I didn't really watch this series, so I can't really comment as much about this. I did watch the last game though a little bit. Dallas was playing up to how they should be playing, I feel, with the team that they have with Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, and all those forwards. They were playing very well. Ben Bishop showed why he deserves to be in the Vezina as well. He was pretty good in that. And I just want to say that the Predators did not live up to their offensive expectations in that game that I watched. They were not as good. But I mean, Pekka Rinne bailed them out as much as they could, which proves the statement Pekka Rinne is too good right now. But chance after chance, the Dallas Stars are eventually going to score, especially with the offense that they have. So it's good not to turn patriotic for this one, but no, Dallas just outplayed them in my opinion for at least the last game. But no, it was an enjoyable game, and Nashville really did not need to lose because they really on paper should have won this game. And thanks for screwing up my bracket even more. But we'll move it on to, I believe, Dunny now.
Thank you, Jack. With that, we can definitely now jump into some round 2 predictions. I think we're all aware that the Capitals and the Canes, they may, they still have to finish their series tonight in Game 7. But I mean, obviously, we can work around that. So I'd say for round 2, my predictions here are if Washington moves on, beats the Capitals, I would say personally, with the way the Islanders are playing and the fact that the Capitals will be coming off of a 7-game series, I would say the Islanders move on. I just believe that though we may not have home ice advantage, when the Islanders are at home, they play their hearts out. And on top of that, Oshie is injured. The Islanders, minus Johnny Boychuk, are somewhat intact. And the fact that the Washington Capitals are going to be tired coming into it, considering they're only going to have about 1 day, and the Islanders had about a week or so of rest. I think that if they take on Washington in round 2, if they can at least get one win, or maybe even both, just quickly try to get those games done in Washington and then bring it back home, I'd say they have an amazing chance. I personally think it will be Islanders 7 should they go against Washington, which will lead them to get on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Should the Carolina Hurricanes win, I believe it will be Islanders in about 5 or 6. As much as I want Carolina to move on, and as much as I believe the Carolina, can really pull it off, and I want them to have this good underdog story, I just don't think it will happen because as fast as the Carolina Hurricanes are, I'd say just because of Barry Trotz's coaching style and how he's been able to pull the Islanders together, I just don't think they'd be able to keep up. And if Eberle and Barzal and if the defense and Robin Lehner, if the entire team of the New York Islanders can just stay hot, I'd say they can easily jump into the next round. And then depending on who they face is depending on who I believe will go on to the Stanley Cup Finals. Then again, I'm a pretty hopeful Islander fan, and I'm trying to keep it as not biased as possible. For the Bruins and the Blue Jackets, I think the Blue Jackets could pull it off in about 6 or 7, depending. I'd say it depends definitely on who takes the road games. I think the Blue Jackets, personally, may move on over Boston, just because of how momentum they're coming off of from beating the Tampa Bay Lightning, who they're supposed to lose to in about 4. And then on top of that, because Boston will also be tired coming off of Game 7 and not having much time to rest and having to get right back into practice, again, there's a bit of advantage there for the Blue Jackets. For the St. Louis Blues versus the Dallas Stars, I think the St. Louis Blues are going to move on to the next round. As good as Dallas was, obviously taking out the, mediocrity that was the Nashville Predators this playoff season, just the way that Binnington has been playing and the way that the offense has kind of come together and get quick goals when they need them, especially and just keep to keep producing when it matters most, especially against Winnipeg. If the Blues just stay hot on offense and Binnington just stays as good as he's been playing, I think this could be an easy maybe 6-game series for St. Louis. For the Sharks and the Avalanche, as much as I would like to see the Avalanche move on as a bit of a Colorado Avalanche, I'd have to say San Jose Sharks again in about 6 or 7. The reason I say that is, obviously they're going to be playing for Joe Pavelski now, and if Joe Pavelski is able to come back at some point during the series, that could be a pretty big turning point. I know San Jose has been looking weak recently, as shown in during the playoff series against the Vegas Golden Knights. I just don't think, even with the Avalanche being able to pull off the upset against Calgary, I don't think it's enough. I don't think that defensively the Avalanche can be, better than the Sharks. I think the Sharks definitely have the better defense. Offensively, I may have a bit to Colorado, and then goaltending wise, I'm definitely giving it to Colorado. Martin Jones, if he needs to find his footing, he needs to, find, some way to, stay back on lockdown and not be a block of Swiss cheese. But I still believe, because of the scoring threat that San Jose holds and the fact that they're good defensively, I'd have to give San Jose the edge. And then going from there, we would have Blues and Sharks. That'd be a tough series. That one I can't even predict, but I'd say it would be a 7-game series. For the Metro, should the Islanders take on the Bruins, I would probably say Bruins in 7. Should the Islanders take on the Jackets, tough one. I'd probably have to say that one can really go either way. Either way, that can go both ways, but I may have to use a bit of my bias here and say Islanders in 7. For the Stanley Cup Finals, if the Islanders were to go on against Colorado, I'd say probably the Islanders have a really good chance. If they were to go against the Sharks, I'd probably say Sharks in 7. If they were to go up against the Blues, probably say Isles in 7. Let's see. Am I missing anything? I think that's about it. I think that's all I got. I don't think I have anything else. With that, we could pass it down to Andrew.
All right, thank you. So, going to the Islanders series, if the Capitals happen to win tonight, I personally think it could go either way, 7 games. But I think, again, with the Islanders having the bits of breaks and all the practice shots has been giving them, the Islanders will have the edge in this and win it in 7. Because as Oshie is injured, he is a big key to the team. And this team, again, has just been getting a little off their footing in the past few games. You could see from Carolina, again, going back to like Obi slashing, everyone getting into their fights and stuff. So I think personally the Islanders can win it in 7. And again, if Carolina wins tonight, that would be huge for the Islanders, especially because of how good they've been doing on home ice. And I think if the Islanders play Carolina, the Islanders win it in 6. All just because Carolina has a good amount of injured players right now. Carolina is a very good team. Do not get me wrong about that. You do not want to underestimate them. But I just personally think the Islanders Cinderella story will just keep progressing on to where it leads the Islanders to the Eastern Conference Finals. For the Boston Blue Jackets series, as much as I would love to see the Blue Jackets win and the Islanders and Blue Jackets faced off in the Eastern Conference Finals, I personally just think Boston's going to win it in about 6 games. Even though Columbus did just beat out Tampa, I think we all know Tampa is known for choking, but Columbus is just, again, they're inexperienced. They're not, I shouldn't say inexperienced, but they're not as like in-depth playoff experience as the Bruins are. It's like some of these Bruins members are still on the 2011 team. So the Bruins definitely have the offense and the goaltending over them. Defense, I'd personally actually go with the Carolina Hurricanes on this. But again, that offense for Boston, it's not just the first line or first 2 lines. All 4 lines can get work done for them. So I'd say Boston will move on. Going over to the West, the Colorado versus San Jose series. I think San Jose will take this and continue their quest for the Cup for Jumbo Joe. San Jose, obviously, as they proved in Game 7 the other night, that they're a team that will push to the very end, as you saw by the 4 power play goals they put up in the 5-minute major. San Jose has been a very great team offensively. Defensively, I personally think they could do a lot better. And then goaltending, Martin Jones, if he just gets his footing together and gets really going, Martin Jones can be a really good key component for the San Jose Sharks. But I think San Jose probably wins this in about 6 games again. Colorado, they're a great team, obviously beating out Calgary in 5 games, but it'd really have to be Phil Grubauer possibly holding him in, because Grubauer has been exponential for them this whole season, especially keeping him in the playoffs. Over at Dallas St. Louis, like I said earlier before the podcast, I think St. Louis will win it in 6. Binnington. He's just been incredible this season, as much as Bishop has been as well. I just think St. Louis's offense will get it done, but that could also be stopped by Dallas's defense. And like I said before, Dallas won't go down without putting up a really big fight. Personally, I think this is gonna be one of the best matches of the second round. Other than that, obviously to the conference finals in my predictions, probably San Jose versus St. Louis. I think San Jose again takes the Eastern Conference Finals or the Western Conference Finals, excuse me, and I think that San Jose will win this in 7 games. The Blues story will end, and Martin Jones by then, I think personally, will get a lot better. He'll obviously know, he got his footing back. San Jose will keep up the offense, and again, like I said, if they can keep up their defense, they can do great. So they'll move on to the Cup final, in my opinion. And then Islanders and Boston, even though the series went in the regular season 3-1 to Boston, obviously you can't tell by the regular season if you've seen what happened in the playoffs. So personally, again, kind of what Dunny said earlier, I want to put a little bit of my Islanders bias into this. I think the Islanders, personally, if they really do push like they have been all season and all through the playoffs, I think they could win in 7. I really do. Their offense has struggled a little bit throughout the year. The playoffs, it was still really strong though. They really came back. So as long as their offense stays consistent, their defense has been exponential. Robin Lehner, he's been insane. So you can't. I think the Islanders in 7 over Boston, and then personally the Islanders against San Jose, even though they only played them 2 games a year. I think the Islanders can take this in 6 games to finish off their Cinderella story to win the Cup. But if I had to choose Boston over the Islanders, I would think that Boston actually would win over San Jose. So in 7 games, and Boston would win the Cup again for what was the second time in about 8 years. So other than that, yeah, I'm gonna move it on to Cooney now.
All right, so for the Dallas and St. Louis, in my book, this is definitely gonna be 7 games, and I feel that St. Louis is gonna. I feel Binnington has been just stellar as well as Bishop. It's gonna come down to who can score more goals, and I feel that Tarasenko is just a better winger than anyone on Dallas. I feel that St. Louis has the better coach and the better depth for offense. Dallas and St. Louis basically have both equal on defense, I'd say, and both equal on goalies because both of them finished top 5 in save percentage on the year, and both of them obviously made it to the second round in 6 games. So I'm going to say St. Louis over 7 in Dallas, and then on to Colorado and San Jose. I'm going to say Colorado wins this in 6 because Colorado is a fast team and they're healthy right now. Pavelski's still out, and there's no update on him from last night. So San Jose, yeah, they came back and won with that 5-minute major, but I don't see Colorado pulling something like Vegas did, and I have them winning in 6. So moving on to Columbus and Boston, I'd say Columbus wins this in 7. This is gonna be another tough fought series, but Columbus is really underrated right now because they swept the President's Trophy. Like, they had one bad period throughout the entire first round. Boston, they lost 3 games. So against a Maple Leafs team that doesn't have a great defense. So I'm going to have to go with Columbus because in every category, they seem to be the better team. Goaltending, I'd say, is equal. Goaltending depth goes to Boston because they have Halak on the bench, who has playoff experience in case Tuukka gets a little antsy, or if Bobrovsky gets antsy. I can't even name Columbus's backup right now because you've never seen him play in the playoffs. It's Bobrovsky. So, yeah, Columbus over Boston in 7. And then Islanders, if they play the Capitals, I feel we would have a better chance playing the Capitals. So I have them winning in 5 over the Capitals. But if they play the Carolina Hurricanes, I'd have them winning in 7. Yeah, I'm a homer, but Trotz knows the Capital system. And even with Oshie out, that's going to be a huge up for the Islanders. So Islanders can move on in 5 games, I believe, even without the home ice. They've played great on Pittsburgh's home ice. So, but against Carolina, that home ice is going to help us. But Carolina has been a scary team. They've been a dark horse. So I'm not so sure. It all depends who wins tonight for the Islanders. And on to conference finals. for the Western Conference, I have St. Louis winning over Colorado. That's going to go 7 games in my book as well. Just because both teams, stellar offense, good defense. St. Louis has the better goalie, though, in my opinion. So I have them winning over 7. And Islanders over Columbus, I'd say this is the same team on paper. Both have great goalies, both have good defense, both have great coaches, good offense. But I'm going to have to go Islanders in 7 just because my heart pulls me that way. And Islanders over Avalanche in the Cup. So I'm going to move on to Jack.
All right. So we're going to go to the West first for mine. In the West, we have the Sharks playing the Avalanche. My personal take on that one is that I believe that the Sharks, I feel, will win in 7 games. I feel like the Sharks were able to beat the Knights, and I feel like they can do the same thing against the Avalanche. The Avalanche have not been a part of as many good games as the Sharks have been in, so the Sharks know how high pressure these situations can be. So I'm going to give that series to the Sharks in 7. I say that the Avalanche come out strong, but the Sharks will come back. So moving on, we have St. Louis versus Dallas. And honestly, I'm going to have to give this to St. Louis. Feel like they have upset a lot of people. They've surprised a lot of people, not upset. They've surprised a lot of people, and I think they're gonna surprise more people by beating a Vezina candidate in Ben Bishop. And in the conference finals, I feel St. Louis will make it again. I feel they'll make it again just because they'll surprise San Jose. Admittedly, San Jose has come back from stuff like this before, but I feel that St. Louis will be the one that finally topples the Sharks. Moving on to the East, we have the Washington Capitals versus the Islanders, or the Islanders versus the Hurricanes. I'm going to say the Islanders win both of them. I feel like with Carolina, it'll be 6 games. With Washington, be 7. And that 7th game will really, for the Islanders and Capitals series, will really be major. But I feel like the coaching of Barry Trotz and the coach of the Capitals, I believe his name is Todd Reardon. Forgot. Sorry, Caps fans. But I feel like he might not be able to outcoach Barry Trotz, since Barry Trotz has been Barry Trotz pretty much made him into what he is right now. But yeah, I feel like Barry Trotz will outwork the Hurricanes and the Capitals with his coaching style, especially since the Capitals coach is a product of Barry Trotz. Moving on to the other side of the East, and I think we need the U.S. National Anthem again. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing the story of the Canadian patriotic team of Boston Bruins. Boston just went through a grueling series, making the entire NHL happy. Everyone except for the Toronto Maple Leafs happy. But they are about to upset the fans in Columbus. Columbus feels that they have this one in the bag because they beat the best team in the league. But Patriots never die. And that's why I feel the Bruins, most patriotic team in the NHL, are going to destroy the Columbus Blue Jackets in 6 games. But they'll win, and move on. But unfortunately, the stories of Patriots end, as they will come into collision with an island. And unfortunately, this may be the end for the Bruins. But they will regroup and become more patriotic than ever next year. And may, in fact, win the Stanley Cup next year, but not this year. I feel the New York Islanders will be that team to take on the patriotic name to move into the Stanley Cup final. As I feel the Stanley Cup matchup will be the St. Louis Blues against the patriotic New York Islanders, who gained that title by beating the patriotic Boston Bruins. Anyways, moving on to Ty.
Thank you, Jack. As for my brackets, Dallas versus St. Louis, I have the St. Louis Blues winning. I feel that Jordan Binnington is just too good of a goalie, even though he wasn't a finalist in the Vezina voting. St. Louis just has too much depth, in my opinion. Better goalie, as I said. You have Tarasenko, who's an absolute god. Ryan O'Reilly, Jaden Schwartz, people like that. Defense, you still got Pietrangelo, Periaco, everybody like that. Dallas, I think the Nashville series may have been a fluke on Nashville's part, but I still think that the Blues are going to win. As for Colorado versus San Jose, I have the Avalanche winning that one. They've just been so good in that last series. Coming back against Calgary, the second wild card. It's the addition of Cale Makar definitely helped them, and I think it's going to help them even more in a series against San Jose. So they're going to move on to the Western Conference Final and take on the Blues. This is where Colorado's reign comes to an end, though, as I have the St. Louis Blues defeating them. And probably, I'm going to guess 5 games. And then the Blues will move on to the finals. Moving over to the East Coast real quick, I'm going to have Columbus beating Boston in 6 games. This is a bit of a toss-up for me, though. I feel that Boston still does have a great chance against them. I could be completely wrong on this, but I just think that if Columbus can show to me what they did last series, they have an outstanding chance of upsetting the Bruins as well and moving on to the quarterfinals. Moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm sorry. As for potential matchup between the Islanders and the Caps, I'm gonna have the Caps winning in 7. Ovi just will not die. I have a feeling. I know that the Islanders have an easier time. Their offense has been going pretty well. The defense has been outstanding. Leonard has been a complete god for this entire season. I just don't think that. I think the Caps have too much experience, and they're gonna knock out the Islanders. Either way, though, for Carolina versus the Islanders, I'm gonna have the Islanders winning in 7. This one, I feel like Carolina are just weaker than the Caps. I think that the Islanders will definitely have an easier chance with them, even though Trotz doesn't know them as well. It's just they don't have the offense that the Islanders do, in my opinion. Sure, they were able to put up some pretty good points, and I believe it was Game 3. I think they got 5 goals against them and shut out the Caps. But I just don't think that they'll be able to stand a chance against the Islanders. As for the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm going to have the Islanders win. Well, depending on which one wins. If the Islanders do make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm going to have them winning also in 7. I think that the defense, this is just a gut feeling of mine. I don't really have any good information to back it up. I'm going to just make sure that my bias is completely out of the way. But I do think that the Islanders will win this series. If it is the Caps, though, I'm going to have the Caps move on to the Stanley Cup Finals as well. Yeah, that's about it for me. Now here's Virgil.
All right, so I'm going to also start with the West. And so for Colorado versus San Jose, I think that Colorado keeps the hot streak because my thinking during the whole playoffs is underdog and hot goalies. If your goalie's hot, you can go far in the playoffs. common knowledge when it comes to hockey. So I think that Colorado can pull up the upset and keep the. I think they have a bigger Cinderella run because they were just like the Blue Jackets. They were basically like, yeah, there's no way you're just here to be here. You squeezed in whatever. For Dallas and St. Louis, I don't know why. I just have this gut feeling that Dallas is going to win. Ben Bishop has, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he has a 992 save percent. Yeah, 992 save percentage in games that he can clinch. That's like legendary stuff. And I think if I think if Dallas can push that series to 7, then they have a really good shot at winning. I mean, Binghamton has played insane. St. Louis has been the hottest team in hockey by far, but I don't know. Dallas is they've just got something about them. So, in the Western Conference Finals, I think that Dallas continues their hot streak and makes it to the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't know why, again, but there's something about this team that everyone's cast them off, similar to the Islanders, where they want to prove people wrong, and that's what they want to do, and I think they have the possibility to do it completely. Columbus versus Boston, both teams scare me going in. I think whoever wins the series has a really good chance of winning the Stanley Cup. I think that Columbus can do it probably in 7 or 6, just because Boston is so tired, and Boston is a similar team to the Penguins that I've seen so far. And I think the Islanders and Blue Jackets are very similar. So I think of it as almost a Isles Boston series, and I think that Columbus can pull it off for that reason. And they have the hot hand, beating the number 1 team in hockey. It's extremely impressive, and I think they can keep it going. Washington at New York. Washington, New York. I think that the Caps will the Isles will win in 7, and it's just Barry Trotz against the Caps. He knows their system well. The Islanders have the heart, and if they can win those home games in Barclays, because we haven't seen it Barclays versus DeCauley, what the reaction is going to be. But I think that if Barclays is behind the Isles, then they can feed off that energy and probably do extremely well against Washington, probably winning in 7. Game 7 would be in Washington, but I think they can still pull it off. If Carolina wins tonight and they play New York, I think that Carolina beats New York in 7. It pains me to say that, but there's something about Carolina. They're kind of cast off as underdog. So I think that they have a shot. And I don't know. The Islanders have kind of swapped blows with Carolina a little bit this season, more towards the Isles, I believe. But I think that Carolina gets it done, as much as it pains me to say that. In the Eastern Conference Finals, if it's New York versus Columbus, then I think that New York can pull it off. I think that they're 2 very similar teams, big chip and chase, fast teams, underdogs. But I think the Isles just, at the end of the day, probably have more heart, probably more than any other team in the playoffs left. And it's just really impressive what both teams have been doing. And if Carolina makes it, I think that Columbus goes to the Stanley Cup, just based off how good they've been playing. And they would have taken out Tampa and Boston, which are the 2 tops by points wise. I believe they're the 2 top teams. So it'd be extremely impressive and a feat beyond belief for a team that was, again, cast off. I know I use it a lot, but that's what happened. And yeah, that's really it. So back to Dunny.
Thank you, Virgil. And with that, we are going to have to end off today's inaugural episode of the Bottom 6 Boys. We're going through a bit of growing pains right now. We're definitely trying to find our footing in the podcast world here. So I want to, thank everybody for listening. Even if it wasn't the most exciting podcast in the world, trust me, we're going to come up with new ideas. We're going to, work as hard as we can and feed off criticism and work to the best of our ability to make this the best sports podcast to ever exist. We're going to try our best, definitely. We hope you guys, every listener, will come back to the second episode. You can follow our Instagram, our Spotify, our SoundCloud, and YouTube, where we will be posting episodes. At least we try to get out weekly. We definitely want to try and get as many out as possible as, the hockey world keeps going. We will have to report, though, that not every single episode we will have every single member on the show. We will definitely try to get as many as possible, but obviously due to busy lives, sometimes we may be short a few people, but we always want to get all of the boys in here because all of us, we obviously make up the bottom six. We have the third and fourth line. You kind of can't have one without the other. We'll definitely try and bring in special guests. We'll see if we can get some new people involved, see if we can get a few different viewpoints from other fan bases. We try to keep it as non-biased as possible. But with that, again, I want to thank everybody for listening and for coming out, and we hope to stick around for episode 2 as we get through the growing pains and try to find, again, like our footing and see what we can make of this podcast. So thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys will be back for more. This is Dunny from the rest of the Bottom Six Boys signing off. Thank you, everyone.